Welcome to the Silver Lined relaunch. And oh, today do I have somebody that you are going to fall in love with. If you haven't already, which you probably have, but you don't even know it yet. Her name is Darcy Donavan, and she is a former Miss Nashville, Tennessee. She is in film, television as a top actress, recording artist, writer, author, producer, entrepreneur, and probably most importantly to her heart, philanthropist. She's inspired millions throughout her life with the acting, singing, words of encouragement, and staying true to oneself in the face of adversity. Does this sound not like someone you're going to love? Because I love them. She's appeared in numerous blockbuster films and television shows such as Anchorman, which I'm sure we've all seen, ABC's Modern Family, NBC's Parks and Recreation, and so many more. Darcy has a new movie that she is starring in alongside DB Sweeney called Mr. Thursday, and it's going to be released this spring of 2022. This episode is brought to you by the Fired Up Entrepreneur Program. And this is a program that we are so proud of. The results have been downright remarkable. And we want to invite you to get a glimpse of what it is like inside this program by inviting you to participate in the Business Boot Camp, which is a 5-day free event, and get involved with this because the pearls that we're going to be sharing each and every day are going to be the foundation for allowing you to make money, keep the money, grow the money, and strengthen not only your business, but also yourself. So please take advantage of this and join us at our next boot camp. You're listening to the Silver Lined Relaunch, and I'm your host, Hillary DeCesar, award-winning entrepreneur and transitional coach. Each week, I'll invite you to tune into inspirational stories, revealing how you too can turn ordinary experiences into the extraordinary. Feeling stuck? I'll share step-by-step strategies to fuel your ability to experience a life where silver linings are both abundant and possible. Darcy, I'm sure there's so much more that I could say, but we're going to stop there because it's like you're going to give us all a complex. Hello. So great to have you on the show. And I know the last time we got together, we could not stop talking. And I thought, these are the shows that I just light up in, the people that are so similar to not necessarily all of the things you've done, but where we have this like-minded energy. I mean, that's where we connected. So welcome to the show. So great to have you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And you're absolutely amazing yourself. I mean, we instantly connected like we knew each other for years. And so it was so wonderful because you have such a warm and beautiful spirit about you. And I just love that. So I'm so happy to be here and to be talking to you and meeting all your fellow listeners.
Oh, it's so good. And for those that want to see how truly cute Darcy looks right now in her heart, where in her head, I'm already like in the heart and the head and the higher self, but in her hat, on her head, you guys go over to YouTube, check her out. She is not only beautiful on the inside, but strikingly beautiful on the outside.
Oh, wow. So thank you. Well, that's a compliment.
Go check her out, everybody. Anyway, okay. So let's jump in to, your story is so incredible. There are so many relaunches that you've had that you could discuss, but I'd like to really go down the one that we discussed last time, your journey going, leaving your hometown, going into what you're doing and how that built you up to where you are. So please take it away and bring us to your most impactful relaunch to date.
Well, the one thing I want to say is the biggest transition was moving to LA and acclimating to like all the obstacles of the entertainment industry, because obviously Nashville is the small, so yeah, well, it's not small, it's actually very big now, but
Well, and it's becoming bigger and bigger now that
it
everyone
is.
from California is moving there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise, I mean, they've got houses out there, and a lot of people like Miley Cyrus, and I think Katy Perry might be. I don't know for sure, but it's just a lot of people are moving out there. And what was interesting is I had a home, there, and I had a home here, and it got to the point where I was just so busy here, I was hardly ever at home. So that was really hard, but one thing I would have to say is, you have to have a tenacious mindset, when you're doing anything in any kind of business. I think a lot of people come to me and they said, hey, should I take this leap of faith? I got a job in another city, and I want to move forward, or I want to do this. And I'm like, you should do it, because if you live your life, with the woulda, coulda, shoulda, you don't know where that could be, and I always tell people to take that leap of faith, because you never know where it's going to lead you. And it's the same thing with here. I came out here at that time. My ex fiance, he had a business partner that was up here, so we went up here, and I was just getting I got it on a soap right away. I was sitting here getting commercials. I was getting all these things left and right. And the interesting thing is I was really into the music industry at that time, and people don't understand. I mean, people are like, God, the acting business is so hard. And I'm like, no, the music business, it's like being on a kidney transplant list, for 10 years, and you need a donor and you can't get one. I mean, it is it's a very difficult business, and you have to have that mindset. And I try to tell people I'm like a coach, but you have to kind of have that. I was going from the transition to Nashville to LA, it was a lot different out here. People out here were taking my niceness as a form of, well, what do you want? And that was kind of, and then, people know about Southern women. We're very nice, but we're like badgers. You don't want to tick us off.
Okay. So hold on. So I gotta take you back. When
Sure.
you were deciding to take this leap of faith, I think that there are always those that say, yeah, but how do you decide when it is the right time? Or what was the process for you that you decided to move from Nashville to LA and really go out on a limb? Because as you said, you're a Southern girl, and you were very, successful doing a bunch of things back in Nashville. And then all of a sudden you're saying now, all right, I'm going to go out to LA, and I grew up in LA, so I know the industry out there. And so how did you actually come to the decision? How did you finally say and agree to that, that new identity of who you were trying to be, and have that leap of faith?
Well, it's kind of like this. I was the big fish in a smaller pond. So it's like, do I want to go out to the ocean, and I'm going to be a smaller fish, but I'm going to go out in the ocean and see what's out there? Or do I want to just stay the big fish in a small pond? So that's kind of where, I tell people, sit there and look at where you're at in life. And if you feel like hey, this is as far as I've come, but I want to do, but there's so much more that I can do. Or if there's that dream that you want, does that make sense? I just think that a lot of people cut themselves short because of fear. And when you do things on a fear base, you're not going to get anywhere in life. And so I was looking at it, and I was like, a true story. So this might be a little long-winded, sorry, but it's
give it to us. We like stories here.
Okay. It's got a really good ending point. So I'm sitting here, and there, I had a record label that was, signing me. We went out, we were having drinks. We were so excited. My management team at that time, all these great things. Well, at that time they had a tornado, So I just did the showcase. I just did this. They had a huge tornado, knocked out all of Nashville. I'm sure you read it in the papers. It was all over, the news in the world. And at that time, things kind of took a back burner. And then the main label sat there to the other label in Nashville and said, we're going to pull you guys out. We're going to just focus on our New York. And they basically closed that label. So I ended up getting a deal, ended up finding this. And I mean, it's just, you're talking years and years of, doing the circuit, of singing, doing all this stuff. And so I just I prayed about it. I'm a big believer in prayer and God and faith, and you kind of got to watch the signs. And I'm going to tell your listeners something that's going to probably change their lives watching this. It's really going to change their lives. What I'm going to say later. But the one thing that happened was I was looking at where my life was, and I'm like, here I am. I've done what I can do here. I've done films in Nashville. I've done, worked with some of the biggest country music stars. I'm like, I've done this, I've done that. I'm kind of reached my cap here. So when that happened, when I won Miss Nashville, Tennessee, I ended up getting they gave me this pass for this big, huge, the prize was like a class with one of the biggest, acting coaches. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay. So I went to him and we did scenes and he did tape and all this stuff. And his name's Alan Dysart. Alan Dysart was, one of the main leads on All My Children for many years, done film, television, great guy. I absolutely love him, but he was the one that pivoted everything. And that's my big thing I talk about is pivot. So he sat there and he looked at he knew I was, a singer. He heard of me and he's like, I gave him one of my CDs and he's like, oh, I love your music and stuff. And after I acted and we did everything, he says, listen, I know this is something you're doing. He says, but I really feel like you got a God-given talent of acting. I think you really need to think about going to LA. And I'm sitting here and I'm kind of taken back because I've heard this before, but that wasn't really my thing. You know what I mean? That I was like, it's kind of like if you want to be a professional baseball player and somebody says, hey, you need to be an anchorman on the news. It's just like, okay. So I took my tape home and, I said, hey, this is what the coach said. I told my fiance at that time and then, or my ex-fiance, I told him, and then I had a couple of my friends over and I said, will you guys watch this and tell me what you think? So they saw it. And then he was like, wow, you really need to think about, we need to go to LA, like he said. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, because I'm always my worst critic. I don't think anybody could, I am so hard on myself. I don't really think anybody could say anything worse than what I sometimes think when I'm, trying to get on myself because I'm a type A personality. So I was just like, really? And they're like, yeah. So that kind of where the pivot came in. And,
I want to say something because what we say is a relaunch, you're calling a pivot, which is exactly the same. But you made a comment. You said that you had reached your cap, right? When you really thought to yourself, you know what? I've maxed out. And in order for me to keep my own journey going, I need to make a move. And so many of us are so scared of, well, the what if? What if I make that move and it ends up being the wrong move? And you said that you
can't do that.
You have a lot of the higher self in you, this higher, whether it's God, whether it's the source, whether it's the universe, whatever it is. Can you help us understand the way that I define that higher self is being able to tap into whatever you think is greater than you, right? You talk about higher ed, that next level of education. Higher self is that next level of you. And you were willing to say, hey, I'm tapped out right here. I'm at, a certain identity level. I want to go higher. But how did you lean into that higher self of who you were and who you wanted to become in your new identity, whether it was acting or singing?
Well, see, now here's where it's a little tricky. I have what I would call a warrior spirit. You know, I feel like, and this is from my perception of what I've seen in the business. I've coached kids, I've, you know, helped adults, but when you have it rough and when you have it harder when you're younger, it's easier for you in the business. When you've had, you know, my best friend, you know, who's like, she's my sister, basically. I mean, she's an amazing person, but she's had what I call living in the bubble. And she's, the parents coddled her. There's certain things that, you know, her life was completely different than mine. So, you know, I had very critical grandmother. I had a hard upbringing. You know, my mother was single and then she was in an abusive relationship, and, you know, all these things that it's kind of like my mom was so sensitive and I was the opposite. You know, my grandmother was this German, you know, woman that, you know, was very, very critical. And I absolutely think that's amazing that she was. I mean, she would say things to me and I'm like, oh, I will show you, you know. So I feel like you have to really have a tenacious spirit. I feel like you have to toughen up. And it's kind of like, I try to put everything in an aspect so that people understand it's kind of like being in sports. If you're going to be on, you can be in your local, you know, football team. Okay. And I'm talking about this for anybody. I'm talking this as an example. Anybody can have, you know, be a high school football and be the best and be, everybody knows who you are. Or you can go to college and you could be the top of your game in college, or the NFL. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in the NFL. I'm going to the Super Bowl. These are things that I'm doing right now. So it's like, you have to have a tenacious mindset. I can't sit here and, you know, let what somebody says, get all over me. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people do. They have to know in their heart and believe in themselves, even when nobody else does. And that's some of the greatest stories out there, because if you sit here, I mean, my grandmother would tell me, she's like, oh, you're not going to do this. You can't do this. And I'm like, she goes, you cannot do this, Das. I was like, Grandma, I'm going to be famous and I'm going to do this. She goes, yeah, okay. You know, and I'm like, yeah, I am going to be. I'm going to show you. You know, and then
Darcy, but let me ask you. So
sure.
she, you know, we talk about limiting beliefs. We talk about the stories that are created when we're younger. How did you overcome those to say, yeah, you know, okay, Grandma, you're saying that, but I'm not buying your story. I'm not buying that story of, you know, woe is Darcy. I'm going to go a different way and I'm going to be a big star. Has it ever come back where, do you ever doubt yourself? Do you ever have, you know, that imposter syndrome where you're like, what the heck? How did this really happen?
Yeah, I do. But what I do is I don't, it's kind of like when you're a coach, you know, if you're coaching an NFL football team, the coach can't come out there and go, oh, we might lose to the team because they're better. I go into a hole. I kind of like, I mean, listen, there's times where I've cried it out. I'll sit in my room, I'll cry. The biggest thing for your listeners needs to understand is you got to have self-care. It's okay. It's okay to sit there and cry for 30, 40 minutes. Then that's it. You know what I mean? I mean, then it's done. So
do you, okay, so wait, how do you get out of that cry fest? How do you say, okay, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes? I mean, how do you flip that switch? Like where you're like, okay, I'm like deep in agony and sadness, and then I'm going to flip out of it. How do you do that?
I tell people to compartmentalize, and that's a big thing, is because, you know, I worked with, you know, one of the biggest comedic stars. We were on set. His father died. So you're talking about, you know, that can't slow up production. So I was talking to his assistant. I said, why is so-and-so, you know, he's not himself today. It's like, oh, his dad died. I said, oh, and so he had to fly out, you know, bury his father, and then come back and film the rest of the movie. And it was a comedy. So the thing is that, you know, you have to also be a professional. You have to sit here and go, okay, a doctor, it does what, I mean, he may have family problems, but when he comes on an operating table, he has to, you know, focus on, you know, he's got somebody's life in his hands. He's operating. So it's the same thing when you're sitting here and you're going for it. People rely on you. So you can't, it's like if somebody's depressed and everything and they're, woe is me and la la la, it's like, do they have kids? Do you know what I mean? It's like they can't sit here. Sometimes it can become
Yeah.
selfish. And listen, I've had some of the hardest moments in my life, but what I do, I'll be honest, I sleep. Different people do different things. I could sleep for 2 days if I'm depressed, and then I'm done. And then it's like, okay. And then I'm like, all right. But sometimes you have to do that. I call shedding of the skin, get it
Mm.
off. And then the self-care needs to happen. And what the self-care needs to be is, hey, I need to take care of myself, whether it be like, my thing is I like to watch a good movie. I try to tell people my biggest thing is watch something funny. Don't watch anything like, I love crime shows. I'm big on that. I think I would have been a detective in another life, but don't watch anything that's like, sad. I tell people watch something funny. And
Isn't it interesting though that our natural inclination is when we're sad, I'm going to watch, the really sad movies because
oh
I
yeah,
just, wallow in my own misery. And I love what you said about, and hey, by the way, you've been in some of the absolute funniest movies. I mean, Anchorman. I mean, come on, everybody, watch Anchorman when you're feeling sad. But I also want to hit on something when you're talking about self-care. Tell me more about what self-care means to you. How often should you be doing it? And specifically, like what does it do to you?
okay. Everybody should do self-care every day. Every day. It's kind of like working out. If you're not gonna, if you have to, I mean, people go, oh, I want this pill, I want to take this. Yeah, you have to eat good, do vitamins, but you also have to do, maybe a little bit of yoga, do something, walk around the block. You can't just, you know, get away with not doing anything. So it's the same thing with self-care. I mean, the mind, I'll tell you, but a lot of people don't know this, but the mind takes 25% of your energy, 25%. So if you're sitting here and, you're not really doing anything and your mind's racing. I mean, my problem that I have is a lot of racing thoughts. I'm constantly
Mhm.
thinking. So, rumination, by drinking tons of water, listeners, I can't tell you, get a bottle, you can get it on Amazon and fill your water all the way to the top. But water is a huge thing. Everybody that I've known that has come to me for consulting or anything, I've
Mm.
literally taken their water. Everybody's dehydrated and your body needs water. So that's one self-care.
How much
The other
how
thing,
much water do you drink a day?
divide your whatever. I drink about what, five? I drink about I drink about 5 bottles of water a day,
Okay.
like these.
Yep. Yep. She's showing a
But you
plastic
can
water bottle.
can you go get me that? I'm going to show
Yeah.
you what I'm talking about. It's a big water bottle, but you
Ooh,
drink it
good.
for the day, and it
Uh-huh.
gives you it gives you like motivation. But if you do this, if everybody listening, okay, so whatever get on your scale. Okay, so here we go. See, this is, you can get on Amazon, but then it'll say, look, good morning. And then
Oh,
it
you
goes,
know what? We will definitely put that in the show notes because that is a fun bottle. Love
yeah.
that.
And you
And
can
you
get
know
it
what
on
I love
Amazon.
about that bottle, Darcy? I love that it has my practice is on the hour. I drink a glass of water. Just like
Oh,
so. So,
see,
so
that's why you want
I just know that hey, if it's 1 o'clock, then boom. If it's 1:10 and I haven't had it yet, I got to get that water in. That's the
well, that
only way.
look, I mean, I can tell your skin, it's gorgeous. You have
Well,
beautiful glow.
thank you, but I just feel like I couldn't, I'd have my water bottle there. I wouldn't drink it. And I had to put a practice in place that would work for me. And, at the beginning I did my little like hourly, alarm. And then now it's just, I automatically, cause it's building a habit as we always talk
Yeah,
about. So
exactly.
I love how it says, the timing on that. So it sounds like, cause your skin is magnificent. Sounds like
Oh, thank
our
you.
practice is very similar.
Yes,
Okay. But
yes.
one thing you mentioned, so I want to go back because this is, I believe self-care is something that is overlooked. It's something
Yeah.
that we, it's the thing that if we're going to give up something during the day, it's going to be that. So how do you prioritize self-care in your daily routine?
I pencil. It has to happen every day. I mean, because I'm so busy during the day. I mean, there's times where, I mean, my assistant seen it. We've been on it. We were on a set for over a month, and it's like we would have like crazy call times. Having to get up at not getting back till 4 a.m. in the morning. Going in at 2 p.m. and then not getting done with work.
Right. So how do you put that? Hey, director, hold that thought. I mean, how do you do it? Wait a second. I need a little TLC for me.
Well, my big thing is I have to sit here and I have to take a bath. That's just it. I have to do an Epsom salt bath.
A bath girl like me. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm right there with you.
There's guys out there going, I don't want to do it. But, 2 hour, not 2 hour showers, but a lot of men, they want to go into the restroom and they sit in there for 2 hours. I don't know what they all do in there. A lot of them play games or read the paper. Every woman that I've spoken with, her boyfriend or husband, she goes, what do they do in there? It's just a funny little thing, but that's their time. And what I also tell a lot of women is when your man comes in, leave him alone. He's got to have time to compartmentalize from moving on from, being at work or whatever he's doing to coming home. So let him have his little downtime, give him about half an hour and then go to him rather than blah, 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 blah. Men don't like that.
100% true.
It is. And the thing is that it's the same thing with a woman. A woman needs her time. If it's a bath time, a shower, I like to, sometimes I stay up till really late and I'll like sit here and I'll do yoga. I have my bath every night. I have my downtime. Now here's where the listeners, this is going to be a game changer for everybody. I ended up, there was a book that spoke to me, and now I'm talking about higher selves and what we getting back to the universe and all that. The one thing is really big is, a lot of us have things that have happened to us when we were younger, or maybe somebody said something, or, parent or sister or a husband or boyfriend or whatever. Somebody said something that, hurt us, or we've been through some predicament. Well, it stays in your body. It stays in your cells. It's, our mind's like a file, and every now and then it'll come out. Well, what I did from research is, it's called, for all the listeners, this is the game changer that I was telling you about. It's called solfeggio. Now I want to make sure I spell that right. Can you get that book for me? So it's solfeggio. When you listen to it, it's basically like an ancient like music, like notes that help. For anybody that doesn't know about chakras, you need to look it up. But everybody has energy forces. So it's kind of like when you walk in a room, you're like, you can feel somebody doesn't like you, or you can feel some kind of bad habit. Well, we have this energy, and it can get on you. So, the great thing about taking an Epsom salt bath, the reason why I tell everybody is it kind of cleans, no matter how many showers you take, you're not going to get that guck off. You need to take an Epsom salt bath because it basically will take all of that, that yuck off you. But every night, you can get it on YouTube. Just look up, let me give the correct spelling because it's kind of weird.
This is the solfeggio
music. And what it is, it's a frequency. And if you listen to it every night, like, just kind of have
it's like a level of hertz. It's that vibration that you're going to bring yourself up to. Ooh, that's all about. Oh, I love that. So increasing your identity.
It's called SOLFEGGIO. So solfeggio frequency. Solfeggio frequencies. And so what it is it's like there's different, these tones are like famous, but they're from ancient times, to where it basically, it will, you may have a dream about, like, okay, so I had a dream I was like bullied when I was in middle school, and that came out. And then it's like the next day I felt lighter. I felt better. And I didn't even remember that. Like, it just came out of
but it came. Okay. So you thought about this where you were bullied, And then you listen to this chanting
No, 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 no.
solfeggio.
No, the solfeggio brought it out of me.
Oh, while you were listening to it, it
Yes,
came.
I was asleep and I had a dream. And then I was
Ooh.
like, the next day I woke up and I mean, I tell you, if you're on depressants, if you're depressed, if you have anxiety, it helps release feelings from the past. It helps.
Oh, I think this is fantastic. We will all check that out.
It's
I
a
love
game
that.
changer. So
Okay.
that's usually what I do every night. I get, I usually like to watch something funny. And I mean, if people want to know, I watch it. It's called The Neighborhood. And oh my God, it's hilarious. But there's so many like really cute shows. Big Bang Theory. What's the one that I really like with all the Big Bang Theory? And then there's the one that won all the awards. That's they're kind of the uppity family and they lose everything. I can't think of the name, but they won like
I remember. Yes, I think I watched that one too, where they end up in that town and they own the town. Shit Creek.
Shit Creek. It's a great show.
Yeah, it's a silly light. Oh my gosh, seriously, this is happening. Oh, yes. Okay.
So
Love
watch
that.
something funny, take a bath or a shower, get zen self. But then if I always tell people, take your cell phone, have it like to the left of you or the right of you, and then put the solfeggio frequency on. Like go on YouTube, you can find different ones. They'll have ones for healing, ones for deep cellular healing, for past issues, all this kind of stuff. And I tell you what, it will change your life. I mean, it will.
I love everything you're saying, Darcy, because I am a bath girl like you can't imagine. I will take 2 baths a day if I can.
Yes, me too.
And you know what's really funny is the house, we just moved to Boulder and we bought this gorgeous house, but it's only been built about 5 years ago.
Oh,
and
wow.
The guy who built it was a single guy, recently divorced, and he did not put a bathtub in the master bath. And nor did he put it in any other room except like one teeny little bath in one room, one bathroom.
Girl. No.
And so what do you think I did? I'm in the middle of like a massive remodel of my bathroom just to put that bathtub in there. So I understand what you're saying. I am right there, but I don't usually use Epsom salt. That was something really interesting to me.
Oh yeah. And you'll really like a great brand that I use all the time. I get sent from Amazon. I'm a big Amazon girl. I get everything sent. Dr. Teal. Dr. Teal, all their stuff I use. Dr. Teal has Epsom salt. Dr. Teal has, I use their, they have like oils, different like jojoba, I can say almond oil and all that kind of. It's amazing. So I use Dr. Teal stuff, but the thing is too, is really if you do all that and, listen, I love to eat. So, when it's really bad self-care, like, I've had days where it's like, oh my God, I've gotten some bad news or something bad's happened. And I go, okay, I'm going to order some takeout, watch something funny. I'm going to take my bath and then I'm going to listen to my solfeggio music. And I do that every night. And that's what helps me. I love your night routine. Is there anything you do in the morning that is, do you have your own routine there too? Can you give us the highlights? The highlights are when the first thing when you wake up, you should always have water right next to you, always, and then drink it because you got to think your body's fasting, and it takes about pretty much 2 cups of water just for your lungs to function. So by then, if you've slept 8 hours, you got to think of how much water you've already used. I use it as like I call it like it's gasoline for you. Really, it's you got your car here, which is your body. You need your gasoline. So
I'm right there. And I like it because it's got kind of room temperature in the morning. So you're like, yes, that is, I drink that whole big glass before I get out of bed. And I actually wait before I have my tea, for about 30 minutes, just so it can really absorb. And I can feel like, I'm fueling, like you said, I'm fueling that engine. I'm fueling my rocket for the day.
Yeah. And I mean, I tell people I have a health chart. Like I mark everything down because as the day goes on, you forget stuff. So I have my nightly routine. It's right where I tell people where you go to the restroom or you brush your teeth, you need to have your nightly routine, boom, right there. So you
So
have
good. I love all your habits, girl. I mean, this is
Thank you. Well, I want everybody incorporated because it's been a game changer for me. And I mean, people have to understand, I've this is stuff that I've gathered. Oh, it's like I've done all the hard work for them. This is stuff of around, I've been around billionaires, CEOs, authors, publicists. I mean, so it's kind of like being around all these people, you learn things and then you take bits and pieces.
okay.
And
Give us one more that you've learned. One more like habit of the, rich and famous.
Okay, here's one, and this is what I incorporate every morning. B12, but you have to take it with folic acid. So it is liquid form. Hold on.
Yep.
I'll try to, let's see. If let me get my assistant in here.
Mine is one that mine has a white stripe and it's red, the letter, because I do the same. So I think you and I might be following and meeting some of the same people. It's interesting. So that's awesome.
Okay, so here's what I have. It's liquid.
Yep.
But the folic acid, you have to take, what people don't realize is that folic acid will make the B12 go in your system better. So
they work harmoniously. And so what she's showing is that the dropper, this
exactly.
liquid. It's a liquid, and we'll definitely put those in the show notes as well.
Yes, and I used to take B12 shots when I would have to perform, and that's what, like, Justin Timberlake's known for that, Janet Jackson, a lot of performers, even Britney Spears, all these people use, this to get through, because the B12 is, that's basically your energy. But then I found out through trial and error, I'm like, I was taking B12, like I was drinking it. And I was like, why is this not working? But it was the folic acid that I found out.
Ooh, so, I love when people start realizing that you need to have certain ingredients together, that it just will be so much better for you.
It's true.
I think it's kind of like, it's like vitamin D without calcium, right? There's something there that you want to make sure. Okay. But wait, I have to go here. So last question around, kind of your movies that you've done and everything. Okay. Best part when you were on the set of Anchorman, what was your highlight moment?
Oh gosh. There were so many. The highlight moment. I mean, it was just kind of like I will have to say it wasn't really on set. It was afterwards when we had to go in for voiceovers, because they make you go in and you have to do. And I kind of was like, I didn't know what to expect, and it's just it was just a different, the energy and everything on set. It was so surreal sitting there, and then when you're working with, like, Will Ferrell and Christina Applegate, and you're working with these great people. It's just funny seeing when the camera comes off. He's really quiet. He was really quiet.
I met him. We go to this place actually called La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club every summer, or we have up until basically this last year. And he was there. He's been there a couple of times, and he is very quiet. He is, very like nondescript, just, does his own thing. But when you do get to talk to him, he's so sweet. And
he is. He's a sweet. And Paul Rudd too. Now, I'll tell you, one of the highlights was when I was talking to Paul. I said, Paul, what would you be doing if you weren't acting? And he said, I would have been a cartoonist. And I said, cartoonist? And that's what I was like, wow, and it's just, it was just I was really excited to see when I went in, and it wasn't in theaters yet, but I went into on the Universal lot, and then I saw what was going on. Like, you saw it on, have a big, huge screen, and you're in there in the vocal booth. That's when I was like, oh, wow. And I'll tell you, so this is kind of funny, but I got jealous of myself. Now that's what I was like.
What does that even mean?
I know, when people say it, isn't that stupid? I was telling my brother that, and he just laughed his butt off, but I said, I came in and I looked at the picture. I was like, who is that? I was like, wow, she's really pretty, man. Damn. And I was like,
hey, that's me.
And then I'm like, wait, that's me.
Oh God, that is so good.
But
Okay, well, wait, we just keep talking and talking. I've got to officially now ask you the question that everyone loves, which is, what is your favorite beauty product? You've already given us a few, but what is your favorite one by name?
Well, you and I know we talked about this, and you've been using it, so you can actually be the one who.
I'm the testimonial.
Yeah, I was about to say has a great testimonial here, but I use this is my favorite brand. It's called Aloha. What is it? Ahalo butter and Ahalo butter treatment smooth repair, but it's from Cosmius. And if you go to wait, I got this thing right there. It's all in Japanese or something. COS. Wait, we're looking it up. We want to make sure because I think it's MEIST. COS.
And we will also put this in the show notes so everybody can go and click the link on it. But I have to say, I've been using the shampoo, I've been using the conditioner. She said it's like going to the salon and your hair is so awesome. I think it's like that. Remember that Japanese straightening? It feels like it makes the hair straighter.
Yes.
Totally. Okay.
Get a keratin, like people go in for get their hair keratin.
Yeah, I feel like it gives you the same, and it makes it so like the water comes off really beautifully. It's wonderful. I love it. Okay, last question.
There you go.
Last question for you.
I got Cosmius right here. COSMEIST.com, everybody. So there you go.
Awesome. Again, that was www.cosmeast.com. We'll put them in the show notes for this awesome product. And then last but not least, what does Powerhouse of Possibility mean to you?
Powerhouse of Possibility. Interesting. Powerhouse of Possibility. I would say Powerhouse of Possibilities is that Powerhouse of Possibility. That basically you can do whatever you want to do. The possibilities are endless for you to be a powerhouse of your own destiny.
I think you proved that. You're doing it. You're doing it, girl. So how can people, I love you too. How can people stay in touch with you, find out what you're doing? Where can we send them?
You can go to Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Facebook, Instagram.
How can we find what name under what's that?
Okay, so if you go to Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Darcy Donavan. So DARCY. Now make sure Donovan spelled correctly because everybody spells it wrong. It's DONAVAN, not DONO, but DONA.
Or you'll get somebody totally different.
Yes, exactly. I think it's a lawyer in some other country.
Totally different. So, well, this has been so much fun. I've loved having you on the show. Thank you again. We will put all of this again in the show notes. Darcy, we're so excited for next year for you. There's so many new things coming out. Make sure to follow her on Instagram.
Thank you,
we'll see you again for sure next time.
And
thanks again.
To you, Hillary. You're amazing. You've got such an amazing energy and light. And thank you so much for having me on your show because you were just an absolute little angel and I just love you. So
you're so sweet. Thanks again.
All right, everybody. Bye. Big hugs and kisses. Mwah.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Silver Lined Relaunch. If I said something today that resonated with you, will you please head over to iTunes right now and leave us a 5-star review and share this episode with others and help them find the silver linings as well. And don't forget, you can have immediate access to the show notes, any giveaways, and the links to those amazing beauty products at therelaunchco.com/podcast. Until next time, there's always a silver lining. And now is the time to hit the reset button to relaunch those transitions into transformations.